You know, Derek, the more I think about this video, it's either gonna make a lot of people really happy and feel nostalgic, or it could just tick them off. It really could go either way.
As a BMX rider, we're known to be pretty passionate. I think it's just gonna tick a lot of people off.
Yeah, you're probably right. Oh well, we're gonna do it anyway. In this video, we're gonna bring you our list of top 5 most influential riders in BMX, so stick around. We're gonna hurt some feelings on this one for sure.
Let's let them down easy.
Good point, good point. Welcome back, YouTube. Thanks for joining us again today. Got my buddy Derek here. You guys know him from other videos and longtime Dan's Comp employee as with myself. And a while back, we did a video of top 5 most influential moments in BMX. Right. And in that video, we hinted about doing a top 5 most influential riders in BMX. So here we are. I don't know about you, but this list was extremely hard to make.
I know it was difficult for me. I had almost 20 names on my list. I know I only needed 5. I'm crossing out names and I'm like, no, you know, but ultimately I got 5.
It was certainly hard. And this list is going to depend on, I think a lot of it depends on what generation you grew up in. It could be BMX as a whole or you as an individual. It kind of just depends on how you, somebody asks you that question, how do you interpret that? I don't know, I'm ready. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Who's gonna go first?
I'll flip a coin.
The non-existent coin, Sonic.
Tails.
Tails, yeah. All right, starting us off, who's your number 5?
So, first up on my list in the number 5 spot, you know I'm gonna have to go with Brett Benisewicz, Mad Dog.
Interesting angle, okay. So. Why is that?
You know, if I'm thinking about influential, man, he came up, he was real young. I think he went pro like 13 years old. Competing in huge competitions, you know, started winning some gold medals at 16. I think he's just super influential, him being so young. And not only was he pro at such a young age, he came out the gate already pushing BMX.
That's a good point. Okay, I like that angle. Wasn't on my list, but I can definitely see where you came with that. And again, that goes back to this list. It just kind of depends on how you interpret that. It's kind of a mental challenge, if you will. Now you see all these kids out there, they're extremely good doing, you know, you got 10-year-old kids doing backflip whips. Like that's a thing now.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but Brett was really one of the first young kids to do that kind of, like to ride at that level.
I know, right out the gate of being pro at such a young age, progressing BMX, and kind of paved the way for all the young super pros today. And also another thing, like he might not have been the first one he didn't invent the cash roll, but I'm pretty sure he was the first one to ever throw it down in contest.
Yeah, Daniel Dares is the one that invented it, and Brett took it and made it his own. After that, it was like considered his trick after that. Yeah. So I like that. I like the angle you took with that. All right, so let me give you my number 5 because it is a polar opposite of yours.
Okay.
All right, so my number 5, I went, like I said, completely opposite of yours, although I do like the fact that you had Brett on there. I went with the legendary Edwin De La Rosa.
Ooh, yeah. Yep.
And Edwin was super progressive street rider. Really, I mean, everyone tried to copy his style back then. His style of riding in general, bar spins, crank flips, his 360s were super steezy. He had the small handlebars that I know everyone, even around here in Indiana, everyone cut their bars like 23 inches wide.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of that started with Edwin. He certainly made it popular. He could do it all. I mean, he could do the smaller, like technical street stuff, and then he could also hit like the most massive handrail or ledge and roll away clean on that stuff too.
Yeah.
So he really, I mean, as far as influential riders, Edwin was right up there as, in my opinion, one of the most influential street riders around.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that he's definitely one of those names that you think of as some of those riders that kind of like made street riding basically as popular it is today.
I completely 100% agree with you there. The first video that I think I saw him in was the Ride Turbulence. He had a bio in there. That's really kind of what put him on the map outside of the typical like New York street scene. And then the Animal Can I Eat video, which is in itself already a legendary video. His section in that really just put him on top, in my opinion. So yeah, my number 5, Edwin De La Rosa. Let me know what your number 5 would be in the comment section down below. All right, so you went first last time. I'm gonna go first now. my number 4 pick, if we're talking about influential riders, and he was already influential back then, but I feel like especially now with his YouTube channel, you already know it's gonna be Scotty Cranmer.
Yes, yes.
Scotty was an amazing bike rider, super forward, progressive. I mean, he was one of the first dudes that really did front flips. If I remember right, he did that Abubakar front flip in a Ride BMX cover. Just his riding was just next level back then, even before his accident. But as I was saying, a legendary, amazing bike rider in his own right. But even after his accident, he's still progressing BMX with his YouTube channel with his brother Matty. I mean, they're reaching millions of people. Many people, largest majority of those I'm sure don't even ride, or they were introduced to BMX from Scotty's YouTube channel. So I definitely have to say my number 4, Scotty Cranmer.
Yeah, no, absolutely, I agree with you. There was a night I actually got to see him ride in person, and I'm probably going to end up mentioning the same night because there's another rider I have on my list.
Ooh,
that,
okay.
That has
name dropper.
On the same night, yeah. So it was at Ramp Riders. I think it was the Road Fools, like Rock and Roll.
The Rock and Roll, yep.
There was a stop there at Ramp Riders in St. Louis. I'm sure some of you guys, or a lot of you guys, are familiar with it. It was the very first time that I'd ever seen such crazy riding in person. So he basically went over the spine, came out of the quarter, did a fly out, double tail whip into a tail tap. He's not done. This is Scotty Cranmer we're talking about. So double tail whip, fly out, into a tail tap, into a foot jam whip, back into a tail tap, back into a hop whip into the transition. 4 whips in 1 trick.
That was Scotty's riding for sure.
Yeah.
Super progressive, super forward thinking. Yeah, my number 4, Scotty. What is your number 4?
I think my number 4 is gonna, like I said, it was really hard to place where I wanted these names to be, and ultimately I just had to put them on paper. But my number 4 is the one and only Ruben, the Ruben Alcantara.
Yep, Ruben for sure. Ruben was on my list. Unfortunately, I had to bump him off. Like you said, it's extremely hard to narrow this list down, but Ruben was for sure on my list initially. I mean, another super stylish rider that everyone seemed to kind of gravitate towards as far as their riding was influenced by Ruben.
Yeah, I don't think that it's a stretch to say that almost every rider that was at least already riding at that time worshipped Ruben's riding. Like even the pros, like guys just coming up who just found out his name or just seen him on his first edit or video, to the guys that were already established and professionals at that time, like just really just like awed at Ruben's riding. And I believe that he had so many just crazy like clips and videos that just kind of blew people's minds. I
mentioned the Etnies video in our last most influential moments in BMX. I mentioned the Etnies video and specifically Ruben's part, so that's funny that you went with Ruben, because that's immediately what I think of.
Yeah, I mean, there was the shark fin clip. I'm sure a lot of you guys know about that.
Road Fools Europe, that was like my first Road Fools video.
Everybody, all the riders were sessioning this bank to a handrail on top, and he just went hard at it and just blasted off the bank, over the rail, over like probably a 10-foot gap or more of stairs into this weird shark fin, like decorative like structure of this just building complex. I'm gonna need to reference another clip for Ruben. And that was in Etnies Grounded, his clip where he did this wall ride over this, on the side of an overpass, like over this walking bridge, like this on-ramp to a walking bridge.
I remember that.
It's way more massive than I can make it sound. You'll have to check it out. Easily, like, I don't know, 30 foot off the ground.
It's insane.
Over this walking on-ramp and then into another makeshift bank that they had like laid up against a rail on the other side. There's so many things that he did, just, you know what I mean?
Nobody can do it like Ruben can. So yeah, Ruben for sure. Like I said, he was on my list. Fortunately, just bumped him off, but he absolutely deserves to be on here. Again, let us know what your number 4 would be down in the comment section below. With that, let's get to number 3.
Let's do it. All right, I think I'm up.
Number 3, what do you got?
Number 3 on my list is going to be, I'm going with Chris Doyle.
Doyle.
Number 3.
Yep. 360 turndowns. Immediately when you think of Doyle, you think of the 360 turndown. At least I do.
Yeah. I mean, Doyle is an extremely talented rider. Been around a long time. He's just one of those top dudes, and he can do it all. Park, dirt, street, literally can do it all.
Super well-rounded.
Yeah, crazy fast and crazy big on everything. I mean, his Squash It video, if you guys haven't seen it, check it out. Check it out.
I definitely agree that Doyle, for sure. I mean, he's, like you said, he rides it all. I feel like he's really known for dirt. He competed a lot in X Games with dirt and like do tours, stuff like that. But Doyle, his style, unmatched at the time. And I feel like he really influenced a lot of riders even today.
Absolutely. Like I said, I wanted to reference another night or another moment from that night at Ramp Riders in St. Louis. So it's very hard to explain the magnitude and how to get this across just from words. You guys have to check it out. There's this huge, massive, like maybe a 10-foot tall quarter. It's actually a hip that goes down to the horseshoe wall ride, comes back, and you hip to the left into the other quarter. Beyond that, the deck is the mini ramp spine on the other side. So Doyle somehow got the speed to drop in on that hip going towards the horseshoe wall ride, hits around that wall ride, comes back, launches straight over the deck, completely over into the spine.
And it's blind
I can't
too.
even explain it. Yeah, it's blind. He can't even see where the spine was, and it was bonkers.
Yeah, Doyle for sure. And that gap, again, legendary. So your number 3 was Doyle, who is deservingly on this list.
Rules.
I went with one of the most legendary street riders. I already had Edwin, but you cannot mention street riding without Garrett Reynolds. Arguably, not only one of the greatest street riders of all time, one of the greatest riders of all time.
All around.
Yeah, and so many people are influenced by his style now. I remember his first video part that I saw. I know he was like around before this, but first video part I saw was his props bio, I want to say it was, and the massive truck driver that he does at the very end down that massive stair set, and his style alone, bar spins in and out of other tricks.
Hop whips into manuals
Yeah.
and out of manuals.
He just combined everything so effortlessly. It was just so fluid, and you knew then that he was going to be something special. And now, like, you know, those years later, he just evolved into, again, one of the greatest bike riders of all time.
Yeah. I mean, if you're in a contest and you're competing and Garrett Reynolds shows up, you might as well go home.
No, you probably shouldn't go home, but you've got a hard time coming for sure.
You better bring your A game.
Oh, 100%, 100%.
You know he's going to bring his.
Yeah, when he brings it, especially on his video parts, it's mind-blowing.
The amount of jaws that you have to pick up off the ground around him.
Yeah, and there's good reason why he's won multiple Nora Cups or Street Rider of the Year, multiple for just BMX Rider of the Year. I mean, the people have spoken, the riders have spoken. Garrett Reynolds, one of the greatest bike riders on the face of the earth. Also, co-founder of Fiend, and like I said, just super influential because so many people kind of imitate his style. They emulate it. They want to be just like Garrett. So deservingly on this list.
I'm not arguing with you about that.
Yeah, you better not. So speaking of style, you cannot mention the words style and BMX without mentioning Mike Aiken. My number 2 on the top 5 most influential riders, Mike Aiken. So many people were influenced by his style. Even to this day, I mean, so many people try to emulate him, and if you weren't directly influenced by Mike, your favorite rider was most likely influenced by Mike Aiken. Like, it's one thing to do a bunch of crazy tricks and all that, but he could make the most simple, mundane trick look really good. Yeah. Like, I don't know, just something about him. Yeah. He just had that certain je ne sais quoi, that thing. He had it for sure, that total it factor.
I mean, even me, like, I'm not known for hitting big jumps, you know what I mean? I do like to ride a little bit of dirt, but it's like not as often. But even me, I mean, I loved Mike Aiken. I was like really taken back by his riding and his style, and I tried to do his like signature. I don't know if he invented it, but his signature knack out seat grab.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, known
even
for that.
I tried to do that, and I figured I could do a knack. I could do a seat grab, kind of like the mindset of Van Homan
yep.
over the snake run. But yeah, I went out, did the knack, and I just froze. And that's how I landed. And it was
often imitated, never duplicated, Mike Aiken. And he's another one of those guys that was just super well-rounded. I know he's known for, you know, dirt riding, and his section in Anthem 2 alone just gives me chills every time I watch it. It's so good. But he's just as good on the street and park as he was in dirt. I think he's the reason why I learned turn downs, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because watching him do those crazy Oppo 360 lookbacks that he did, it was just so perfect.
Yeah.
So that's my number 2. Derek, what is the number 2 on your list?
So for my number 2, like I said, it was really difficult. I think I might have, might be a broken record at this point, but I got to go with my man, Nathan Williams.
Nathan, yes. He still progresses street riding to this day.
Yeah, the amount of work that he puts in, it's like, yeah, it's 100% amazing what he does on a bike. And he's just one of those guys that, like, he is always progressing. And there's a lot of people, like, after a while doing it, starting to be kind of like older guys now, we're starting to mellow out. But it's like he's just one of those guys that's just always progressing and progressing. And the amount, like, his bag of tricks is insane.
Yeah. He's another one of those guys where he can do switch-footed stuff, he can do opposite side stuff, and you watch his video parts and you have a really hard time telling what is his, like, quote-unquote normal way, because he just makes everything look so effortless no matter which side he does it on or which foot forward he does it on.
Which is his out of the ordinary way. I mean, he can do both so flawless. It's like, I like to think of it as like someone being so fluent in multiple languages. He's
a good analogy.
Fluent in the language of BMX,
Yep.
and he could just do it all. And I just love that he's constantly progressing. And I can reference multiple video parts here, but the one that I want to talk about is his Why Not video part that actually got him the 2020 Video Part of the Year NORA Cup. You guys definitely need to check that out if you haven't. I mean, it's definitely one to watch.
So my number 2, Aiken, yours, Williams, both absolutely deserving to be on this list. But now we move on to the number 1 spot.
That's right.
All right, so number 1, no pressure. I know this list was hard to make, but what is your number 1 for top 5 most influential riders in BMX? Again, no pressure.
Right, so there was a fair warning at the beginning of the video that we're gonna tick some people off.
Yep.
This may or may not. I know it's a lot of people are gonna agree with it. There may be some people out there that are, if they're thinking more along the lines of most influential in BMX, might be a little bit different than, I went back and forth between what I thought of that, but also most influential to me in BMX.
Yeah, it just depends on how you interpret that question.
Right, so for my number 1, I had to go with Aaron Ross.
Oh, no, I did not see that coming.
Yeah.
But as soon as you mention Aaron Ross, my mind immediately goes to all the crazy color combinations that he had.
Oh, yeah.
So many people were just influenced by that. All the crazy complete bikes that he had from Sunday.
Oh yeah.
That is I did not think of that, but I completely agree with you.
No,
Aaron Ross deserves to be on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I gotta say, going back to his, like, video parts that really struck me, there was like his Chill Bro video part.
Mm-hmm.
There was a few others like the Odyssey Electronical that stood out. And I gotta say, like, he was one of those riders that his riding alone, I felt like he's got his own style. He was one of the first riders that I was seeing do crazy combos, like, off of, like, handrails and onto handrails.
Yeah.
His, like, double pegs up a rail to 180 whip off, to land fake.
I remember that being like a big thing. Like, that was not something you saw a lot.
Yeah, that was like one of the first times that I ever seen that. I mean, and this guy, he's not afraid to go fakie and hop onto rails, like doing like fakies to rails, hopping on them, like when a lot of us struggle to, get the cojones to jump on a rail, moving forward at it. He does it in reverse, looking over his shoulder. And all his combos, if you watch his riding, he has so many lines where he is, in almost every line, he's riding forward and he comes out fakie and rides fakie to the next trick, and then he goes back and forth, forwards fakie, and he's just one of those guys that just can do it, whatever he wants to do.
Yeah.
He can get there.
And going back to his style, so not only did he have a unique style on a bike, but his bike itself, again, but going back to the colors, he had those, like you said, fluorescent, like he had the orange soda bike that was real popular. They had the grape soda at one point. Then the watermelon bike was my absolute favorite, the watermelon bike.
And his watermelon bike, there was this one event, it was an Etnies event at Ollie Skate Park, and they were doing a signing, and there was a few other guys there, Iron Ross as well. And at one point, while he was taking a break, this kid asked him if he could ride his bike, and I wanted to ride it, but I wasn't gonna ask Aaron Ross, hey, can I ride your bike? So I kind of gave it a minute, and I asked that kid, I'm like, hey, let me Let me ride that for a sec. And I rode his bike around the park for just a couple minutes, and his bike is not light, and he manhandles that thing. Like, and this was, you know, this was around the time like everybody was worrying about their bike being light.
Yeah, everyone's kind of a weight waning back.
Yeah, next part, you know, next lightest part or whatever. And his bike was not light by any means, and just the way he still manhandles that thing, it's just crazy. You just got to check out some of his video parts. I mean, the way he can still hop as high as he does and do the things that he does, like with a bike of that weight.
Yeah, Aaron, very influential rider, especially in our time, our generation of riders, because so many people around us, and when we'd go travel wherever, everyone had fluorescent color bikes after that. And I mean, it started with Aaron and Sunday, but then every other company after that started doing their own bright fluorescent colors to kind of hop on that trend. So yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
His riding and his style of bike in general, very influential.
His video parts were so fun. I mean, you think like, you know, he used the song like, you know, the "Hey Mickey, You're So Fine." That was a super fun video. They're working 9 to 5. Like it brought your attention. I just feel like his video parts were always one that just you wanted to stop and watch it, whether you knew him and loved him already, or well, you'd never seen him before. If you came across this video, you watched it.
All right, so for my number one, I know this, it kind of feels like a cop-out answer, and I went back and forth on this multiple times, but I went with Dave Mirra as number one. Dave Mirra, undeniable, one of the most influential riders in BMX, certainly one of the only household names in BMX. So even if you had no clue what BMX was, you've heard the name Dave Mirra. I mean, he was on
the A-list celebrity of BMX.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, his mark that he left on BMX, and like I said, outside of BMX, he was in commercials, he was in TV shows. Did you know he was in George Lopez? Remember that show, the George Lopez show or whatever?
Yeah, yeah.
He made an appearance as himself in George Lopez.
No idea.
I had no clue until I looked that up. But yeah, I mean, video games, yeah. Dave Mirra Freestyle BMX.
Yeah, I know. When I was a kid, that was the game to have.
Yeah, I love that game, but like I said, just a household name in BMX, and the amount that he accomplished while he was here, it's just, you still feel the effects to this day. A true legend of the sport.
Yeah, we lost a legend.
Absolutely. Yeah, I gotta say, Mirra, my number one, but like we said, this list was extremely hard. I know we said it multiple times. This is extremely hard to make.
Disclaimer.
Yeah.
Disclaimer. Disclaimer.
It just depends on what generation you grew up in, what you were influenced by. We are very curious what your list would be. So again, let us know in the comment section below. Hopefully you guys agreed and kind of understood where we were coming from with our choices. Because like I said, some of yours, I didn't even think about.
And last thing that I want to mention is all these videos that we're kind of putting out, like the most influential moment, the most influential rider, some of the videos that we're going to put out in the future. If we were going to do like the best this, the best that, I mean, let's be honest, like as far as like legends go, you know, Matt Hoffman and Dave Mirra might be on every single one.
Yeah, that's true.
Spots, you know what I mean? So that is the disclaimer. Like, I mean, you know, Hoffman, Mirra, they're kings, you know what I mean?
And how do you quantify what is the best?
Yeah.
You know, that's impossible. So again, let us know in the comment section below what your list would be. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see everybody in the next video. Biscuit is right here. People in the house, put your hands in the air, because if you don't care, and we don't care.
Cut that.
Yeah, let's definitely cut that.